The war right now is linked to Philistia, but something else. What's the other dangerous player? And you've heard of it. It's Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been sending missiles since this war began because they said we're allied with Hamas. And we're going to open up a scripture which has been looked at as telling us what will happen, or before the events of Ezekiel 38 and 39. We're going to do another Friday night. I will be doing Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is definitely for the end times. We'll look at that, but since this is Psalm 83, it's brought up a lot. You may have heard it in prophecy circles, in the realm of end time prophecy. Tonight we're going to open it up. If you have your Bible, open up to Psalm 83. Psalm 83. Does it reveal the next prophetic event? Is it coming true? Is it linked to what happened in Israel? There are many who say it does. And I just did a screenshot, but that's some of the things you'll see on the web if you look up Psalm 83 on the web. What's coming, Psalm 83. There are many books that say it does as well. If you look that up, there'll be all sorts of books on Psalm 83. Let's open it up and let's see. Psalm 83, a psalm of Asaph. God, do not stay quiet, do not be silent, and God, don't be still. For behold, your enemies make an uproar, and those who hate you have exalted themselves. They make shrewd plans against your people, and conspire together against your hidden ones or your treasured ones. They have said, come, let us wipe them out as a nation, so that the name of Israel will no longer be remembered. They've conspired with one mind. They made a covenant against you. The tents of Edom, the Ishmaelites, Moab, the Hagrites, Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assyria has also joined them. They have become a help to the children of Lot. Deal with them as with Midian, as with Sisera and Jabin at the river of Kishon, who were destroyed at Endor, who became like dung for the ground. Make their nobles like Oreb and Zeb, and all their leaders like Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, let's possess for ourselves the pastures of God. My God, make them as whirling dust, like chaff before the wind, like fires that burn in the forest, and like a flame that sets mountains on fire. So pursue them with your heavy winds. Terrify them with your storm. Fill their faces with dishonor, that they will seek your name, O Lord. May they be ashamed and dismayed forever. May they be humiliated and perish, so that they will know that you alone, whose name is the Lord, are the most high over all the earth. Okay. What is this about? It's about the enemies of Israel coming against Israel to destroy it. Let's zero in on a few things. Let's do it verse by verse. A psalm of Asaph. Lord, don't be quiet, don't be still. For behold, your enemies make an uproar. Those who hate you exalted themselves. First it says, your enemies. Yet these are about the enemies of Israel, but that's the point. Same thing. Those who are enemies of Israel in the Bible are enemies of God. You can't have it both ways. As Israel is the nation God called into existence for his purposes, if somebody's against Israel, that doesn't mean they agree with everything. That's a whole other story. But against Israel, or against the children of Israel, the Jewish people, they are against God. Even if they're against Israel in the name of God, like as in a Muslim, or what has been some of mainline Christianity for centuries, anti-Jewish hatred or action in the name, even in the name of Messiah, which is crazy, is against God and against the Messiah of Israel. Remember, his disciples said when he was leaving, is it at this time you're going to restore the kingdom to Israel? He's the Messiah of Israel. He will fight for Israel. Next verse. They make shrewd plans against your people. They conspire together against your treasured ones. They make shrewd plans. There have been shrewd plans made against the Jewish people for thousands of years since this was written. From the courts of Pharaoh, where it was said, let us deal shrewdly with these people. shrewdly. From the courts of Pharaoh to the Nazi conference at Wannsee, Germany, where they made plans, secret plans to implement the Holocaust, to the plans that were made by Hamas just a little while ago. They made shrewd plans. I want to show you something hidden. In the original language, you would not necessarily see it in the English. The word in Psalm 83 about the enemies of Israel and the Jewish people making shrewd plans against the Jewish people, against Israel, is the word in Hebrew aram. Do you know where it first appears? It first appears in a form called arum, the first time in Genesis 3, verse 1, in this sentence. And the serpent was more subtle or shrewd than any other creature. This is the first reference, allusion to Satan. And the first adjective for the enemy is this adjective, shrewd, which is used of the enemies of Israel. What does that tell you? What's the connection? The connection is these enemies of Israel are connected to the serpent. Behind anti-Semitism is Satanism. The Holocaust, satanic. Hitler, satanic. October 7th, satanic. Next verse. They've said, come, let's wipe them out as a nation, so that the name of Israel will no longer be remembered. It's amazing how many times this has been said of Israel or the children of Israel since it was written. Come, let us wipe them out, that the name of Israel will be forgotten. Many have tried from Pharaoh on. The Assyrian Empire tried to wipe them out. Babylon tried to wipe them out. Rome came in and tried to wipe them out. The Spanish Inquisition tried to wipe them out in Spain. The Cossacks tried to wipe them out. The Tsar of Russia tried to wipe them out. Of course, Hitler, above all, tried to wipe them out. Yasser Arafat wanted them out. Osama bin Laden wanted to wipe them out. Saddam Hussein wanted to wipe them out. Hamas and Hezbollah want to wipe them out. The Bible is filled with types and patterns and templates, which could be fulfilled again and again. So it's possible as well that Psalm 83 presents a template regarding the enemies of Israel that could be fulfilled in the last days. So we have to be careful both ways. I don't believe we can simply take this dogmatically as a prophecy of the end times. That's not it's a primary meaning. At the same time, I don't believe we can dogmatically dismiss that it may have a level of fulfillment for after that time, even to now. So if we're going to accurately divide prophecy, and this is what we're doing on Friday nights, we got to use wisdom. So on its face value, primary value, it seems to be saying it's a song, it's a psalm, calling to God for protection, listing the enemies of God and their attacks and their plans, which may not be referring to one incident. It might be in general. There are these ones here, Philistines here, this one here, this one here. It may not be one thing. It may be several things. But is it possible that it has also a prophetic realm beyond the ancient times? For that, we'd have to ask, what are the players today? Who would represent these people in the modern world? I want you to see them. Let's look at them. These are enemies of Israel at the time of Psalm 83. Starting from the top left. Top left, that's Phoenicia. That is where Tyre is. To the right is the Syrian kingdom, Aram Damascus, and beyond that is the Assyrian Empire. Going down, that is Ammon, that is Lot's child. Going down from there is Moab, the other child of Lot. Going down further is Edom, Esau's children. Now swooping up left, and that red, that's the Philistines. That's Philistia on the coast, the sea people. Where's Amalek? He would have been in the desert around where Edom is and maybe where the Egypt is as well, Sinai. Remember, Amalek is a descendant of Esau, so he could have been with them, but he's in the Arabian desert. Now, what about the Ishmaelites? Look, see the bottom, it says Nabutu tribes, and you also have some tribes on the left, Arabu tribes. Most likely that's where the Ishmaelites are, particularly on the right. Okay, so now, what about today? We can look at it a few ways. Number one, geographically. What are the names of the nations or peoples who are there today? Number two, we can look at it genetically, bloodline. But that's very hard to do. But we can say that genetic studies have shown that the bloodlines of the ancient enemies of Israel are in the Middle East right now. But so we have to mostly go by geography. So who is there today? I want you to see a map. Now look at a map today. Tyre, I'm going to tell you where they are. Tyre on the top is now Lebanon. Aram Damascus over there to the right, that is Syria. The Assyrian Empire is now in Iraq. Some of Syria and some of Iraq. The kingdoms of Ammon, Moab, and the right side of Edom is now the nation called Jordan. The Ishmaelites, Nabutu tribes down there, is now linked to mostly Saudi Arabia. Now also the Arab peoples, but Saudi Arabia. The Hagrites, if linked to Hagar, would be linked to Egypt. The Amalekites would be in the Israeli desert there, the Negev, and which are now Arabs. And Philistia is basically the Gaza Strip. Now, could it be that this template has been fulfilled in the last days? Listen, in this, and I haven't heard this much. You won't hear it much, but in the Psalms, it says, "Let us cut off the name of Israel." Well, the Jewish people are the nation of Israel, but they have not been together in one nation of Israel in one place for 2,000 years until 1948. May 15th, 1948. That's David Ben-Gurion, the leader of Israel. On the top, that's the picture of Theodor Herzl, the visionary of Israel. They weren't called Israel until that day. On May 14th, 1948, Friday, when he announced to the world Israel is being resurrected in accordance with Bible prophecy. And then the next day, it went into effect. And the next day, so they're called Israel. Now, the world didn't know the name of the nation until just that day, that Friday. He announced the name would be Israel. Now, regardless of the name, the enemies of it would have come against it. But it's striking that the first day it was called Israel's back in the world, May 15th, 1948, Saturday, was the first day in 2,000 years. And what happened? Well, what Psalm 83 said happened. They said, "Come, let us wipe them out as a nation." So the name of Israel will no longer be remembered. An array of nations came against Israel to wipe them out on that day. At the moment of its birth, the name of Israel was back, and now we're going to wipe out that name. It will no longer be remembered. Now look at the map now of that war. This is the War of Independence. Remember the map you saw before. Look where all these things are coming from. The same nations, the same peoples. Again, there's the ancient map there. And look again now, the War of Independence. That is the same. On the top is Lebanon. That attacked Israel. Tyre. To the right is Syria, linked to and Assyria. They attacked Israel too. Iraq attacked Israel and Syria. You see Ammon, Moab, and Edom. That's Jordan. They also attacked Israel. You've got Egypt on the bottom left, which can include parts of the Amalekites. And you had fighting through the coast, the Philistia. That's where much of the fighting happened through Egypt. Two major... Now, let me show you one other map of the same thing, War of Independence. Now, in this one, you'll actually see, because they say, wait, there's two that seem to be missing. Well, on one hand, on the first map, you don't see Iraq, Assyria, and you don't see Saudi Arabia, but this one shows they were also attacking Israel, Iraq and Saudi Arabia, or what you saw as the tribe, the Ishmaelites, and the Iraq, which is Assyria. So all these things in Psalm 83, they were all, in fact, as far as I know, that's the only time, up to that time, they had never been in one attack. That was it. The very birth of Israel. Now let's go to one other war. Then that fulfilled Psalm 83. Let's go to one other war. This is the War of 1967, Jerusalem, the Six-Day War. In this war, the Arab armies decided they're going to wipe out Israel. Russia, Soviet Union actually instigated the whole thing. But literally, they said, we're going to drive Israel to the sea, we're going to destroy it, like Pharaoh said. They mobilized for war. They threatened to annihilate Israel. They mass along the borders, the troops all around Israel are massing around. They tell the UN to remove its peacekeeping troops. The Arabs, they do it. The UN is very happy to oblige, apparently. They are preparing to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Israel realize they think they're going to be destroyed. They actually are building, they're actually making coffins, making all these, they think they're going to be destroyed. They decide the only way we're going to survive is we got to strike. So they do. It is called the 6-Day War. Now look again at where you see the land. Psalm 83. Go back to the 6-Day War. You have Syria to the right. You have Assyria, Iraq again. You have Ammon, Moab, and Edom, Jordan. You have Egypt. You have Saudi Arabia, the land of the Ishmaelites. You have the Edomites. You have the Amalekites. You have all that. Psalm 83. These are the two times in the history that we know of that I could see that you actually had that all together. Interesting. It seems the template of Psalm 83 kicks in, especially at the moment of prophecy. Number one, when Israel is about to become a nation, prophecy. Number two, when Jerusalem is about to be restored, prophecy. When that happens, that's when Psalm 83 kicks in. And it was in our day. Can there be more fulfillments or replaying of Psalm 83? There could be. Right now, it wouldn't look so likely right now because the one who is sponsoring all these attacks against Israel, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's the other, it's Iran. And the neighbors of Israel hate Iran. Iran, though, is going to show up in Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is definitely a prophecy for the end times. Psalm 83 will perhaps kick in again in one form or another, but the striking thing is the greatest fulfillment was the birth of Israel and the regaining of Jerusalem. And another striking thing, in 2006 was the Israel-Hezbollah war, called the Lebanon War. The war went to the borders of Lebanon. Basically, it was Israel versus Hezbollah. Lasted just 30 days, a little over 30 days, from July 12th to August 14th in the summer 2006. Right in the middle of that war, in Ireland, a book is uncovered from the ground. The guy they were building, they saw this in the mud. It was the book of Psalms. It was 1,000 years old. It was opened to Psalm 83. At the moment when all this war is happening, and it's open about Israel's enemies, it's open to Psalm 83. What about what's happening right now in Israel? There's a war. Now, it is certainly not a war of many nations at this point, but I want to show you something. Because Psalm 83 may give us revelation from different parts of it can be fulfilled. Verse 7 says this, Philistia. What is Philistia? Land of the Philistine. What is Philistia? The Gaza Strip. That is the Gaza Strip. That's the Philistia. And in Gaza is Hamas. The war right now is linked to Philistia, but something else. What's the other dangerous player? And you've heard of it. It's Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been sending missiles since this war began because they said we're allied with Hamas, both sponsored by Iran. Hezbollah is allied with Hamas. Now, Psalm 83, verse 7 says this. Interesting. Because it talks about different people. But this one, it says Philistia, Gaza Strip, with the inhabitants of Tyre, Lebanon, Hezbollah. That's the one time where it says with. They're working together in the prophecy. And that's where you have the two missiles, the two terrorist groups happening in alliance right now. Now we're going to get into other keys of end-time prophecy. I want you to see it for real. I want you to be wise in prophecy in the weeks ahead. But as we bring this home, let me get to the heart of it. We looked at the question, is Psalm 83, does it have to do with the end times? But there's another question, does it have to do with your life? It does. What is Psalm 83 about? It's a prayer to God about all the enemies that are against the people of God. Asaph is saying, Lord, look at all the enemies. Well, there are a lot. See, it's tough to be chosen. And that's another thing Tevye on Fiddler on the Roof, he says basically, God, I'm honored that you should call us your chosen people. But would you consider choosing somebody else? Here's the thing, if you're saved, you are chosen. You're also the chosen people, but being chosen doesn't make it easier. Because there are forces against God and against his people, and they're against you. And the fact is, so being chosen doesn't mean you don't have problems or challenges. It may mean you have special problems and special challenges. The Jewish people were chosen. They've had no shortage of enemies. They've had more enemies than any other people, because there is an enemy. And so the enemy works through enemies. So don't panic or get bent out of shape. God uses all of it. The problems, the challenges that you're dealing with are to make you stronger, to make you like Messiah. That's the point. The fact that Israel has enemies, I've shared this, means the Israelis had to learn how to become fighters. Amen. They didn't know how to fight before. They learned how to fight real quick. As soon as they become a nation, 6 nations come to destroy them. And the fact that you have an enemy means you have to become a spiritual fighter. In other words, what does that mean? One who doesn't surrender. One who doesn't give in to the darkness or the sin, but beats it back. Notice something. I said the greatest attacks in Israel in fulfillment of this template came at the greatest moment of prophecy. The rebirth of Israel. When you had all these nations, it was when prophecy was about to come. The restoration of Jerusalem, the rebirth of Israel. What does that tell you? The greatest problems, the greatest resistance, the greatest warfare, that means the greatest fulfillment God has for you. The greatest victory, the greatest blessing, the greatest change in your life. The greater the battle, the greater the attack, the greater the blessing at the end. Israel had to fight, but what it got by fighting was a nation. Blessings. Israel had to fight again, but what it got was Jerusalem. So there's a blessing at the end of every fight, but you got to fight. So the warfare of the enemy, the attack of the enemy on your life is proportionate to the greatness of what God has ahead. The enemy knows it. Hold on, fight the fight, keep going, and you will win, and you will enter the blessing that'll be with you from then on.